America, long seen as the shining example of how democracy should work, and then along came this election. British comedian John Oliver tried to capture the tone of it during an appearance on CBS earlier this year.
No one could say that the American democratic process is not long, or indeed way too long. And there's a lot of balloons involved. American democracy looks like a 4-year-old's birthday party.
That is, if a 4-year-old's birthday party also involved multiple sexual assault accusations, the possible skirting of federal laws, with taxes and emails, the mocking of the disabled, calling half the nation deplorables. I could go on, but I won't. In short, this election has changed our national image internationally. But how? Joining me for more on this are Marco Werman, host of PRI's The World in partnership with GBH. Great to see you, Marco.
Hi, Jim.
And Nasser Wadati, a consultant with the group Middle East, North Africa. Great to see you again, too, Nasser. Is it possible to generalize about how the rest of the world sees this election, or you have to go country by country? Can you do it in a big picture?
You can go country by country, but let's say that people are shocked.
By what?
They're shocked that this is a state of American democracy in 2016. After electing Obama, the first black president in the history of the United States, now we have this.
Is this Trump or is this election?
I think it's a bit of both. It's certainly Donald Trump. I mean, if you go to the UK, I think after Brexit and then the nomination of Donald Trump as a Republican nominee, they looked at the United States and they looked at Trump as kind of the personification of this thing on paper called Brexit. And I think a lot of people anyway in the UK woke up the morning after Brexit with this kind of regrexit kind of sense. Now they see Donald Trump, it's like, oh, so in a human being, this is what we did. And I think there's a sense that they're ashamed.
Nasser, do you share this view?
I actually share it, and I will further go even more zoom on the larger point here, which is that the rest of the world sees America as the beacon of liberal democracy. So what people are really afraid of, seeing Donald Trump rising and saying the kind of things that he's saying and energizing the kind of negative forces out there, what they see is that basically maybe this idea of liberal democracy itself has come to an end, or has it?
Well, what do they think is going to follow? Before you answer that, the thing that bears out what you're saying, Gallup did an interesting poll. They went to 44 countries, from Afghanistan to the Palestinian territories to Brazil to Sweden, and they asked people, if you could vote in this American election, who would you vote for? The only country where Hillary Clinton did not win of the 44 was Russia, where Trump had a 23-vote majority. So what is it that is feared? I mean, what is it around the world that Trump, why does Trump inspire fear or condemnation? What is it?
Because like a lot of the things that he's been saying are like basically fly into the face of the very ideals of liberal democracy, like hitting disparaging minorities, the rather sort of disgusting way of talking about women, and the complete disregard for the rules of democracy. Ultimately, from abroad, Donald Trump is not seen as presidential. He's seen more of a reality TV star.
And yet you've got these bubbling movements in places like France with Marine Le Pen, and in Germany, and Brexit is another good example. Even Narendra Modi in India, who has really kind of like targeted his base of Hindus at the expense of Muslims. I mean, that too is really kind of looking very Trumpian at this point. But one thing that you said earlier about the poll, the Gallup or Pew?
Gallup poll. This worldwide thing, yeah.
In Russia, a local TV station went around and spoke to Russians. Who do they think would be a good president for the United States? Pretty much everybody said Putin. They asked them the question, if you were American, who would you vote for? Everybody said Clinton. So there's this kind of an admiration, strange admiration in Russia of Donald Trump. But when you kind of pin people down and they ask what would be best for democracy, well, then they say Clinton.
You know, the same question for how the world sees us, I guess, is what we discuss every night. Is the support in these 44 nation polls, does Clinton win because she's not Trump, or because she's respected? I mean, it's the same deal. Is she less horrible than he is, or is she someone who is seen as one who is a world leader?
I think she represents constancy and consistency. Donald Trump is kind of a black box. He's said, you'll hear about my plans when I become president, and it's time to trigger those plans. Hillary Clinton is essentially the baton pass from Barack Obama. The rest of the world knows what to expect. China's a great example. China's really on paper, they should like Donald Trump. He wants to stop giving weapons to the Japanese. He wants the United States to stop being the Japanese military. They also know he's not going to pick on them for human rights abuses. So in theory, they'd like to see Donald Trump, but the elites in Beijing, as we just learned on The World Today, actually are supporting Hillary Clinton begrudgingly, but they support Clinton because of his constancy.
So November 9th, let's take the two possible scenarios. Hillary Clinton is president-elect. Does all of this negativity disappear? It was just a function of this election cycle, or does it stick to her?
I'm skeptical. I think that the world loves the United States, but also loves to hate the United States, like a paradox. So once normalcy is reestablished, but we go back to business as usual.
So what if there's no normalcy? What if it's President-elect Trump and they have to deal with that reality as much as they didn't want it? I assume most of these leaders are pragmatists.
Basically, I would tell you that in the anecdote that I witnessed myself during the chemical attack in Syria. I was sitting in Gaziantep, Turkey, with Syrian refugees, and one of them walked up to me and said, "I really pray to God that George W. Bush was president today." Why? Because they just like all of a sudden discovered that maybe we're not, like, this guy was not as bad as we thought. Of course, the anecdote here is about ultimately realizing, coming back to terms that, like, America is a complicated place and that could not be packaged in a simple cliche.
And the context is W was not loved in that part of the world.
It was hated.
What do you think, quickly? What happens if Trump is the leader?
I think if Trump is the leader, the rest of the world is like the United States. The majority of the United States, probably. Now what? What happens now?
But they have to deal with them. I mean, just like Americans.
They will have to deal with them.
They have to deal with them too. Yes?
Exactly. Just like everybody's now going to have to deal with Boris Johnson, who is, the foreign minister in the UK.
Yeah.
He's got a big mouth,
Former mayor
but
of
that's
London, he does.
But that's who we have to deal with.
Do you very quickly? Can you see a Brexit surprise here tomorrow? I mean, that's what Donald Trump is hoping for. Is essentially the prediction is he's a loser and he ends up a winner because of that hidden vote. No,
I'm not making any predictions. I'd made a prediction on Brexit, and
you were
I was
wrong
wrong.
there?
Yeah.
I have one for you.
Quick.
We will be very tired on Wednesday morning.
Marco, it's great
Jim,
to see you.
great to see you,
Thanks
too.
for your
Thank you
time.
for
Really
having us.
appreciate it, both of you guys.